Made in Hollywood.
The heartwarming drama Arthur the King, starring Mark Wahlberg, is made in Hollywood.
I'd never, ever imagined that he would be so engaged and so connected to me on an intimate and emotional level. It was incredible.
Made in Hollywood.
Also on today's show, Jack Black and Awkwafina lend their voices to the action-packed animated adventure Kung Fu Panda 4.
Embracing change. It's an important lesson of this movie, and it feels like also an important lesson in my life, too.
Plus, Justice Smith stars in the satirical comedy The American Society of Magical Negroes. The action thriller 5 Pounds of Pressure features Luke Evans, Alex Pettyfer, and Rory Culkin. And we're also up close with the Jennifer Lopez documentary, The Greatest Love Story Never Told. This week on Made in Hollywood.
Made in Hollywood.
In the heartwarming drama Arthur the King, Mark Wahlberg stars as a professional athlete who forms an unbreakable bond with a stray dog over the course of a grueling 435-mile adventure race.
We all know anything can happen out there. Sometimes we feel lost. We push and we suffer. We keep going. That makes all the difference.
I think when you're doing a film like this, there are a lot of options open to you, but really my choice, I think, was to try and honor what Michael wrote and felt and what happened to him.
It was remarkable to me because Michael was so obsessed with the idea of winning. You know, he was obsessed with proving that he was good enough to become a world champion.
The thing with Mark also is he has his vision with the movie pretty early on, and we had a discussion about it, and I really liked the way he wanted to portray me.
Over the next 10 days, these athletes will cross 400 miles climbing, biking, and kayaking.
For something like adventure racing, it takes a different person. They just have a different makeup. You know, it's all about suffering. It's about being able to endure.
Relationship between me and Mark, personally, we worked together 7 years ago in Lone Survivor. So we worked together here in this adventure racing.
I didn't really know what adventure racing was before I'd read the script. And then once you kind of do the research and you're like, oh my God, I can't believe there's human beings that subject themselves to those conditions.
Any of the skill set required to do a race like this, I probably have 0 of them. So it was fun for me to like try those things out, although it wasn't always successful.
Let's talk again the meatballs. 3 days, 200 miles ago. Leave the stupid dog and let's go, come on. Move, dumb dog. What is it, boy? Oh. Oh, God. Can't believe I almost walked right off that cliff. Extra meatballs for you, my friend.
Turns out the dog was actually kind of a sweetheart, and you know, we had scenes where the dog was supposed to be incredibly emotional. I mean, a lot of it was the way Mark Wahlberg worked with him, I think. They had a good bond.
I'd never, ever imagined that he would be so engaged and so connected to me on an intimate and emotional level. It was incredible.
He's a super smart dog, and he loves to work. He really is always in demand for doing something. And he loved the beach and the running, and so for them, it's a game.
Think you found your new partner in suffering, Michael? Yeah, he's the king. I think we should call him Arthur. Arthur the King.
It's a really exciting script for so many reasons, and ended up falling in love with Arthur the same way that everybody did, and I'm sure people will when they watch the movie.
Went to a screening yesterday in a theater that I used to visit 4 or 5 times a week. And we always just took away that experience of sitting there laughing and crying and enjoying films with others and strangers. And so to see that happening again in a movie that's giving people so much hope and so much joy, it's really nice.
Guess what? I'm not a dog person.
Justice Smith gets recruited into a world dedicated solely to making white people feel more comfortable in the satirical comedy The American Society of Magical Negroes.
I know you can feel their discomfort, Aaron. Watching you walk through a room full of white people was the most painful thing I've ever seen.
Excuse me. Sorry.
When I first read Kobe's script, oh, this title is crazy. This is pretty wild. I like it. What a treat. And then I read it and I was like, oh my God, this is really just turning a rom-com upside down with such a big premise behind it.
When I first read it, I was like, oh, this is my experience. I could lend so much to this character because I understand this arc.
I started off just wanting to respond to the magical Negro trope, these black supporting characters who don't have their own inner life, and critique that. And in the process of doing that, I found myself writing about a very particular defense mechanism.
Welcome to the American Society of Magical Negroes.
Aaron is sort of a slightly exaggerated version of my own relationship to some of these themes, and Justice just really understood that character and understood that particular neurosis and that particular defense mechanism.
You ready?
Oh, wow.
Your first client is a Jason Munt. His morale is far too low.
Hey.
Hey.
Darn it, I was hoping there was a station right next to him.
Oh, is this one spoken for?
No.
Hey, I'm Lizzie.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. Kind of similarly to Justice, a lot of Lizzie felt like she was already in me.
She's great.
Yeah, she's cool.
You kidding? Come on, man. She's smart and funny.
I know what you were doing going on about her. You're trying to set us up.
No, that's not what I was doing.
Kobe is a dream, like an absolute dream, because I would run through the scene and then he would be like, all right, let's do it again, and like maybe we do it this way, and I would be like, oh, okay, so if we do it this way, can I come at it from this way? And he was like, yes, and it just felt really collaborative.
Actually getting to work with Kobe in rehearsals and on set, he just kind of included who I was into the character and the development of the character.
Someone defied the society. Who was it?
You didn't let her go like I told you. If you interfere with her or your client, you could have your memory erased. You won't even remember she existed.
I knew how to play the specific, complicated feelings, the specific rabbit hole that Aaron was in of feeling discomfort, trying to mitigate that discomfort by appeasing, but then indirectly allowing them to treat him in a way that, again, makes him uncomfortable.
This was a wonderful vehicle both to respond to the trope, but also to unpack that for myself and imagine a world where that could through satire sort of imagine a black person moving past that and being freer and bolder and less subject to it.
Even though we might never see each other again, I need you to know that what we had was real.
I'm curious to see how you're gonna make it out of all this.
Coming up, we sit down with Jack Black and Awkwafina for the action-packed animated sequel, Kung Fu Panda 4. To find out where to watch any movie, check out MoviePhone.com. Find it, watch it.
Embracing change. It's an important lesson of this movie, and it feels like also an important lesson in my life, too.
Made in Hollywood. Made in Hollywood.
Here's what's hot on screen. The world's most unlikely Kung Fu master returns in the hilarious butt-kicking animated action comedy Kung Fu Panda 4, featuring the voices of Jack Black and Awkwafina.
It is time to take the next step on your journey.
I'm not going to be the Dragon Warrior anymore?
You will advance to spiritual leader of the Valley of Peace.
Inner peace. Dinner, please. Dinner with peas in a sesame soy glaze.
This is not working at all.
Of course, this movie came out in the year of the dragon. Poe is a dragon warrior.
Yes.
Were these things that you were thinking about when creating the film?
I think that was a happy accident. I think we just decided to line up perfectly with the Year of the Dragon. Who knew?
The Dragon Warrior is gonna be mad when he finds out you took his stick.
I am the Dragon Warrior!
Nothing about you says dragon or warrior.
Awkwafina and I are Year of the Dragon.
Let's go.
Yes, I love being a dragon.
I love being a dragon. I love showing it off because everyone's like, oh, what are you, a rat?
We stand for like prosperity and wealth.
That's right. Empower, dude.
No question. That's the coolest of all the signs.
Hell yeah.
Funny, because I'm the Dragon Warrior.
You're talented and brave, and that shows in this franchise. You're returning to the character of Poe. Tell me about returning to him and also being with this character, living with him for 16 years.
It's been a blessing. I have to say, I feel so lucky, and thank you for saying I'm talented and brave. No one has ever said that I'm brave. Some people think I'm talented, and I appreciate. It's been an incredible ride. It's been the greatest journey of my career.
Very clever, Fox. You know something.
Poe is called upon to retire.
Yeah.
It's not as exciting, but he does cross paths with Jen. She's a new character to the franchise. How would you describe her?
She definitely has a klepto problem, but I think she does so because she has a set of circumstances in her life. She's an orphan like Poe, but it's interesting because her worldview is one of distrust, and I think Poe's kind of innocence like really helps her change her perspective, and it leads to I think a really like fun friendship. Yeah.
What is it you're holding? A cookie? You were chosen to become something more than you already are.
For fans of the entire franchise and for people who are in the theater right now sitting down to see this movie, what are they going to experience with the film, and what are they going to love most about Kung Fu Panda 4?
What comes to mind first is the humor. There's tons of really great laughs.
Oh man.
I might have been laughing the hardest at the premiere audience. I was screaming.
He was.
I was screaming. I was letting them know.
Some of them in his own lines too. Yeah.
Maybe some of my own stuff.
There was one.
I think they're gonna have fun, and it's gonna be loads of action. But at the same time, I think we have some really cool themes for everyone. This one's specifically about change. Poe's got to go through a big change.
Change doesn't always have to be a bad thing. Why do you think I always change the menu at the restaurant?
It's time to let go of the dragon warrior and move on to the spiritual leader. And it's that embracing change. It's an important lesson of this movie, and it feels like also an important lesson in my life, too.
You finally met your match, chameleon.
We're not so different, you and I.
Skadoosh. Stand back. I'm gonna kick my butt.
To find out where to watch any movie, check out MoviePhone.com. Find it, watch it. Up next, Luke Evans, Alex Pettyfer, and Rory Culkin star in the action thriller 5 Pounds of Pressure. And we also go behind the screen for the Jennifer Lopez documentary, The Greatest Love Story Never Told.
He had said that he had written it from a personal point of view. He didn't go into the narrative of his life.
Made in Hollywood. Made in Hollywood.
Now available on demand. An ex-con back in his old neighborhood is forced to confront his past to secure his future in the action thriller 5 Pounds of Pressure, featuring Luke Evans, Alex Pettyfer, and Rory Culkin.
When I was a kid, we had to write about our favorite heroes. And this one kid, he wrote about his father. And that always stuck with me.
The script is beautiful, you know, it's so well written, and I think Phil's intuition on the way that he delivers dialogue and then translates that dialogue into his filmmaking is miraculous.
I grew up in a kind of world like this, so I knew people like this, people living between the cracks of society, you know, and I knew people who were on both sides of these kinds of things.
It was pretty clear that this was his story, or pretty close to it.
I didn't know that at the time that Phil was writing it from a personal experience, but I found that out when I was speaking to him.
In 13 years' time, today's my last day. Got a new place, got a new job. But the really big news, I met my son.
He had said that he had written it from a personal point of view. He didn't go into the narrative of his life. I think that it was very cathartic for him to write this script and be able to have the opportunity to tell the narrative in the film that he wanted.
You recognize him? He used to run these streets.
It's written that he has this leather cowboy hat and leather jacket, and I was like, why the cowboy hat? He's like, I just want him to stand out. I want him to have the wrong uniform for his job. He was open to suggestions, but I was like, no. Let's stick with the weird leather cowboy hat.
I was watching a lot of Harvey Keitel videos to get the accent, but then just being around Phil, like Phil is a true collaborator.
Something great about Phil was that he just always went with the most interesting idea.
5 pounds of trigger pressure.
so your aim never off.
It was like an advertisement for a Glock, and it was kind of bragging about how light the trigger pressure was. Well, the idea is it's very, effortless. You don't have to work that hard to pull it. And I just kept thinking like, wow, how much easier can you make something so violent and dangerous that little effortless action can impact so many lives for so many generations.
I can still do something good.
Now available on your home screen, the documentary The Greatest Love Story Never Told offers access to the most personal moments of Jennifer Lopez as she attempts to independently produce a new album and cinematic original, This Is Me Now.
I've been married 4 times now. I used to be terrified to be alone. I didn't know what else to do by myself. I have decided to tell my story that I've never shared with anybody in the world.
She had been working on the musical for a while. I remember getting a call like, we're doing something different. And, people were saying, I think this is a moment where, there's a lot more, there's more story to be told.
She had done the music and she had wanted to capture more than a music video. And I started asking questions of what she's been through in the last 20 years. And then I came back a week later with a pitch that was telling that story.
It was these spectacular numbers tied together with a narrative she had in her mind. And to me, it was something completely original.
I'm sure people watching from the outside were like, what is this girl's problem?
Ben had decided as the movie was falling apart and Jen had decided to finance it herself, that this was crazy, that we had to capture this.
Jen says to me, why are you so stressed lately? I said, I'm not just financing it, I'm writing it, dancing in it, singing in it. Oh, God.
This is the first documentary out of Artist Equity, which is Ben's company, and having his support was incredible.
He was so generous to help her with this project, and he was so prescient, so smart to finance a documentary on the making of it.
Ben was really trying to move mountains to make this happen for his wife.
I don't know, I don't understand it.
I just, nobody does. I don't need to do any of it, but I want to.
When she had trouble selling the movie, Ben was getting all kinds of hits that people wanted to buy the documentary before the movie was even greenlit.
It's her journey to being happy. It's really about Jen and Jen until she could realize she could emancipate herself from her own judgments. She could forgive herself. She could love herself. The Greatest Love Story Never Told is about a woman falling back in love with herself.
I don't act like I'm scared, but that's the secret to my whole career.
Stay tuned, there's more coming up on Made in Hollywood.
Made in Hollywood.
Thanks for watching Made in Hollywood, powered by MoviePhone. For more behind-the-screen content, check out MoviePhone.com.
Made in Hollywood. Made in Hollywood. Made in Hollywood.